Thank you so much for tuning in to Divine Times. I'm Hilton Milan with special guests Hazel Davies, Renata Duma. And we're here to talk about the unity bubble. Now, there's something special about the unity bubble. Can you begin to tell us a little bit of what it is?
It is a very special creation.
Yes.
By my late husband, Jonathan.
Yes.
He was a very different individual, and over the course of his life, his whole interest was to find out how people worked. How does consciousness work? How does it work down here on this planet? And he had some very different experiences in his own life, which caused him to wonder who he was, and how is he going to find out what he can do, because the things that were common to him, other people didn't seem to be able to do.
Yes.
So and of course when you're born with, I don't even say gifts, but when you're born a certain way, you don't realize that you're different.
Yes.
Until people start to tell you and ask you. And so that was a big part of Jonathan's journey, was to find out who he was and why he could do these different things, and then to use the abilities that he found out in order to help humanity.
Yes.
That was the real purpose of the unity bubble, is to help people to find what is stopping them living their fullest, living their full life, and being in charge of their life.
Yes.
And to end human suffering on the planet.
Absolutely.
That was really his.
On a personal level.
Right.
This is not a blanket thing to cure the world.
No, it's on an individual work level.
Individual work level.
Yes.
Because, as you know, we all have issues, we all have dysfunctions.
Challenges and gifts and opportunities.
Yes. And this is a way to be able to see what those dysfunctions are and to understand them, and then to be able to get rid of them.
Yes.
So the unity bubble itself, in its creation, does not support anything that is out of alignment. And I prefer to say out of alignment rather than positive or negative.
Yes.
I say it's either in alignment or it's out of alignment.
Yes.
So the unity bubble space, the energetic space of the bubble, was not created to support anything out of alignment.
And that's to each individual. The bubble is unique to each individual.
Each individual.
Yes?
It's a very personal space, which is an energetic space, which is transferable, and that was the end result of creating the unity bubble. So when somebody receives a bubble, they immediately get protection. First of all, if they have any lower frequencies interfering with them, that would be cleared immediately.
Yes.
And then a protective layer, which is the shell of the bubble, the outside layer, that is the protective layer that stops anything of a lower frequency coming in.
Yes.
So then what is left is your own personal dysfunctional patterns.
Oh, yes, yes.
So as we go through the work, which is the second part of the bubble, is the personal transformational work, as we understand, that's not working in my life, what is that about? The magic question, what is that about? Why does that person bother me? Why does this situation bother me? It's not that person, of course, and it's not the situation. It will be something in you that no, I'm not pointing the finger at you.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Because of resonance. You will have attracted certain people, certain situations into your life to either experience or to learn.
Yes.
Either one or both.
Yes.
So then when we realize that person who's really bothering me is not about the person, it's like, why does that person bother me? Oh, it's because they never listened to me. So there's the pattern. And then you have the question to ask yourself, have you had enough? Have I had enough of not being listened to? And you can trace it back, most probably to childhood.
Yes.
And then you can make a decision. And then when you release that energetic pattern, and there are many ways, people have their own individual ways to release, then it goes to the space of the bubble, which cannot support it because it was not created to support it.
Yes.
So as we go down the layers, and it is layer by layer, issue by issue,
Yes.
It makes personal work very effective, and eventually it gets fascinating.
Yes. Yes, we actually.
And as somebody who has had the bubble and who's had the bubble for some time, facilitated by Jonathan, most graciously, and all the protocols, and as a facilitator now of the bubble program, I have to also add that in addition to dealing with the dysfunctions, it really doesn't matter what issues you bring to the bubble. The bubble will facilitate growth and the elimination of fear around whatever it is that's keeping you in a discomfort level
Yes.
on the planet. For myself, it was, I always found it very difficult to be here. I found the energy difficult to tolerate. I found myself marginalized. I found myself ridiculed for my spiritual beliefs and understandings. I thought I was alone. And once I met Jonathan and Hazel and we began working, everything seemed to fall into place, and there was an ease and a grace that I have remained within since, very graciously. So it's beyond even just the dysfunctional psychological or human patterning, whatever it is that we're bringing forward from a past life or exhibiting from situations that have occurred in this one. It is a very, very deep and profound and mysterious co-creation that is available to us to assist us to be here and to be in this world but not of it, as you and Jonathan always said, and to reach your own understanding, highest potential, and ease within that.
Yes.
And you only do the bubble once, one time.
Oh.
It is with you for life. You never have to repeat it. It is always with you. And that's the reason that happens is because it comes from beyond time and space. Because Jonathan's essence, in his essence state, he is from a very different place.
Yes.
He's from beyond time and space. So
Yes.
in order for somebody to bring in to the earth, you would have to be in a physical body, which he was.
Yes.
And he was able to bring that down, and because it is from beyond time and space, it stays with you. There is no repeat. There is no ritualistic to keep it. You will always have it, and it is like a warm hug because it is inclusive of all dimensions.
Yes.
So you will be resonating with your home dimension. So there's this wonderful feeling of, I'm home.
Home again.
I'm home. I can cope with
That's right.
this crazy
Very
planet
much
Earth.
so.
Yes.
Very much
Yes.
so.
It's
So,
amusing, if I'll use that word. You say home again. And this morning, as I was awakening, I had one of the rare experiences. My late wife Madeline, passed, transitioned 4.5 years ago. And I don't usually remember my dreams. And this morning she came to me, she was in this dream, and wasn't expecting. I was just, in some of the Toronto vicinity in the older buildings, and when people had left, I decided, okay, I'm going to go in. I just felt like being around the building, and there were grounds that I think Madeline and I used to visit, but I had no sense of seeing her. And when everyone left, I wanted to go in, and I walked in, and I was in a different state. I actually, in the dream, was not blind, so I could see, and And then when I went in, and I also, just before going in, I noticed that all the people that were from a cultural club were going out for the one building, and there was a bride in a long train just walking in with an entourage. And I thought, well, anyhow, they're gone. Now I can sort of just have some space to myself. And as soon as I walked in, it was like this banquet hall, and there was one table 20 feet long, and at the head of the table was my late wife, Madeline. Standing just in front of a soup bowl. And she was about to sit down, and I sort of ran over and said, "Oh, Madeline, let me help you with your chair." and I did, and she said, "Oh," and just, I want to go home. I'd like to go home. And it struck me. Oh my God, our former home is no more. And then she said, "Well, I was too tough on you, and forgive me, but why don't you go get some food, and go get a plate of get a plate over there before they take it away." And I didn't particularly want to go, but Madeline was always right. So I sort of turned, and then the dream ended. I wanted to come back, and she was in a much in a delightful state where she was not in the illness, that she had been for the last 14, 15 years of her life. We were together for 21 years. So that essence, and then the going home again, and you mentioning that, and the bubble, and also in remembering meeting with Jonathan decades ago. I was in my friendship with him and admiration, because I recognized that he was so often beyond time and space in consciousness of presence in the world, but looking at how people work and how we grow and move through things. When my friend Lawrence, who was my piano teacher decades ago, was gravely ill on death's doorstep, I was compelled to reach out to Jonathan and say, "My friend seems to be dying. He's at the edge, and his will to live is gone. He's horribly sick." And I said, "Please, Jonathan, would you call him and see if you can help?" And Jonathan went to the hospital. And my friend is living, thriving from, and recovering from what is a deadly disease. And as a result, in honor to you, Jonathan Davies, thank you for all the work you've done and that you bring forward. Is there a term that you have for the bubble? Bubble.
Oh, the people who are able to transmit the bubble, I call them bubbleators.
Bubbleators. That's so beautiful.
Or if you want to be really, a little bit more reserved, facilitators.
Bubble facilitators. And if you like having fun, bubbleators.
Bubbleators.
I think we're going to make T-shirts, Hazel.
Yes.
I think we need. I think
we do.
There's a T-shirt here with.
Well, I just had a bumper sticker actually put on my car, which is www.unitybubble.com
Oh,
with
my
the logo,
goodness.
and yes,
Okay.
they're really tailgating me.
I'm trying to figure out what that is. Oh, so maybe talk a bit more, if from the stuff with the stuff with Jonathan. I don't know Jonathan Davies. If you I was so honored to know him for the little time that I did, and even though we were friends before he had developed the bubble, but I knew he was doing this work. And as I had understood it from him, I said, "Please help my friend," and he did, and it was miraculous.
And that would have been pre-bubble.
Yes.
That would have been, the work with Lawrence was pre-bubble.
Yes.
So
yes.
this was just Jonathan being Jonathan.
Yes,
This
yes.
is what he had done for years
Sort
and
of
years.
a healing facilitator.
Oh,
yes.
always.
Yes.
He would just, because he had the ability to basically change the energetic patterning
Yes.
for somebody just by clicking his fingers.
Yes.
It was very, I don't want to say unnerving, but it was certainly very different,
Yes.
from doing regular healing work. People would just talk to him and he would say, "So you had enough of that?" And they'd go, "Yeah." And he'd go, "Okay, done." And to him it was a joke.
Yes.
I mean, not a joke, but it was
easy.
It was easy.
It was
Yes.
natural.
It was easy.
Yeah, and he spoke to me of, afterwards, he spoke to me, Lawrence is
Yeah.
going to be all right.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
the
and-
medical profession, even Lawrence himself,
Yeah.
he was a goner.
Yeah, but Jonathan did very, very, I mean, I can give you a couple of funny instances
Yeah,
if you
please.
like, just to
Yes.
kind of, I'll tell you the apple pie story. It's a good story. So Jonathan and I lived in a motorhome for about 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
Big motorhome, very, very beautiful motorhome. And we traveled. We were in the States at the time, somewhere around Arizona or somewhere, it doesn't really matter. And Jonathan had the idea that he would like apple pie.
Yes.
And we had a big fridge and a freezer in the motorhome. And he is like, oh yeah, I'm going to have apple pie tonight, and maybe we have ice cream. And so he looks in the freezer, and there's no apple pie. So he's like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. Next time we go to the store, I'll get some. So he never thought about it again. But the point is that he really felt it. He really tasted that apple pie. And then he left it alone.
Yes.
So at that time, we didn't have Wi-Fi like it is now. We had a little gadget that was called Pocket Mail. And we used to have to go onto a public phone, dial a certain number, and put this Pocket Mail up to the phone and get our emails. Well, Jonathan had the habit of getting up early, 4 or 5 o'clock, and he'd get in the truck and go to the nearest phone. I wasn't there. So this morning, this was a couple of days after he'd thought about the apple pie. He's driving to the phone, and in the middle of the road, there's nobody on the road. I mean, there's nobody there. In the middle of the road, he sees a box. So he tells me this. He said, so I got out and I looked, and he said, it was an apple pie. It was in the box. Now, I mean, generally, if you find an apple pie in the middle of the road, you probably don't want to eat it.
Yes,
probably not. But this apple pie was perfect. It was frozen, and it was beautifully wrapped in a box with a ribbon on the top. And then he comes back to me laughing away, and he says, look, I got apple pie. I said, where'd you get that from? He said, I just found it. And this kind of thing, happened to Jonathan a lot.
Yes.
Different instances, like he fell down a waterfall, a 60-foot waterfall. And when we went back, he didn't injure himself at all. And when we went back to have a look at the place, we realized that there was no way he could have actually fallen down the waterfall without going through a rock. So his surrender was so in place, he just totally surrendered and was able to go through the rock and come out unscathed at the bottom.
Yeah.
So and we scratching our heads like, how did you do that? And he said, oh, I remember on my way down, he said I was kind of talking to, his higher aspect and saying, well, I thought I was supposed to be around for a bit longer. But it's okay, I'm ready to come if if that's how it is.
Yes.
But no, it wasn't his time. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and the first time I met Jonathan, we were just talking about this, reminiscing. Somebody had handed me a business card, and basically I just wanted a clearing done, It was like, I honestly didn't know the magnitude of what I was stepping into.
Yes.
Not in the least bit. And I had just been chatting briefly with Jonathan on the phone. And he hung up and he said, well, just before he hung up, he says, where are you? I'm going to come and see you. And I'm, okay, sure, fantastic, no problem. So I told him where I was, and I came down to the lobby of this apartment building. And I'm very sensitive to energies, and subsequently Jonathan said the reason he did that was because he knew that we were going to end up doing some work together. So I guess he wanted to check me out, right? Anyway, I just remember walking off the elevator, and he just came around the corner, and it was like I just saw this pillar of energy. It was like onyx, like a big obelisk of shining onyx, and it was him, but it was that, and I'm like, whoa, dude. Who are you?
Jonathan was a divine dude, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That knocked me on my keister. Full and, totally.
Yes.
I'll never forget that. And for the longest time, like I was just telling Hazel, I thought he was like 1.5 feet taller than he actually is. Ever since then, I'm like, Jonathan? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And he was every bit of that grandeur in persona as he was in stature and in energy. And yeah, it certainly was an honor.
And yet very humble and very
very
much
down to earth.
very much, you know.
Yeah,
I always
totally.
say to people, like he was a dude. He was,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
he
he
rode
was-
his motorbike and
Yes.
he, you know, he liked to, you know, have all, you know, do whatever other people do. He
Yes.
had a good life. He had
Yes.
he had a very full life. Maybe I could tell you a little bit more about how the bubble actually came to be
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
please.
why it was necessary.
Yes.
So we go back to around 2007, I'm thinking, 2007, because there were two bubbles. There
He
was-
wrote a book too, didn't he?
Yes.
Several, yes.
Several. So there were two bubbles. The first one was called the sacred bubble, which was only for protection, and then we used the sacred bubble for the unity bubble. But the reason the sacred bubble was created was because he had a lot of clients coming to him, telling him that they had a voice, they had interference, they felt that they were being stopped doing what they wanted to do or made to do something they didn't want to do, you know, either way. So
Would that include like relationships maybe that were negative or had
anything
energy?
negative,
Yeah.
anything that was interfering with
Either
their,
internal or even external, but it
well,
was
this was more external.
Okay,
They felt
yes.
that they were being interfered with.
Yes, yes.
So it was not a problem for Jonathan to get rid of these lower frequencies or the energies or whatever
Yes.
it was.
And to harmonize them into
To just, you
Yes,
know,
not-
send
no
them
longer
on
being-
their way.
Yes.
You know, but the thing was that the clients, because they had issues in place, there was a resonance to attract these energies back again. So they would come back and they'd say, "Oh, the voice is back again." That
and it's
kind
even that
of a
even falls
thing.
into addictions, doesn't it? Maybe.
Yes,
Okay.
it can.
Yeah.
So the question was, how do I protect my clients while they work on their issues? So that was the original sacred bubble,
Yes.
which was on, and that took, it took a number of months. We had 5 or 6 very sensitive friends, and he got a way that was comfortable for people.
Yes.
So that was the sacred bubble, and that was in place for almost 2 years.
Yes.
But the thing was that was not Jonathan's interest. His interest was always working with people about their patterns, their energetic patterns.
Yes.
And getting them to move forward in that way, not just the protection. So then he's scratching his head going, I think I can make this better. So then that started a whole different thing because, I mean, living with Jonathan was not that easy, let me tell you. It was very interesting, but you know, it had its challenges. And I'm like, oh my, here we go again. You know, now what is it going to be? So then he said, I'm going to use the sacred bubble, the protection,
Yes.
and I'm going to alter the inside of it. So I'm going, okay. So there we were, but it took about 8 months, every day, all day. It was a very,
Grueling.
it was grueling time. What he did was he took the energy of the mass consciousness, so that had everything in it, and he basically had that space in our living room, and step by step, anything that was out of alignment was removed, and then everything that was positive in alignment with fundamental values and principles was infused. So we say so it was a process of removal and infusion.
Yes.
And it took all, I mean, there were a lot of times when he was almost passing out because of the amount of energy that was needed to make this. It had to be a pure space. It had to
Yes.
be a totally pure space. Then when all that was done, we were told, now seal it. Oh, okay, seal it. And then they said, which is the collective of beings, who called themselves Unity, because it got very confusing because so many of them were talking at the same time. So they decided that they would join together as a collective, and that's why it's called the unity bubble, because that's what they said that their name was.
Yes.
And then they said, okay, now it's sealed. It is now transferable. You can give it to your cells first, see how it works. So we had to go through the whole process again. And then they said, now it's ready to be shared with others. And that's why it was a very involved process, and was wonderful. And then about a year after the unity bubble, we were working with some people, and they seemed really resistant. Like really, they didn't want to let their issues go. Like in the perfect world, you would really only need the unity bubble,
Yes.
because it is a perfect space. But people, human beings, they're very resistant. They don't want to let their stuff go. They don't like.
We like our
change.
stuff.
Yeah, we do.
We like
so
our
then
bad
that,
stuff
so then
in
that was
particular.
Jonathan. Like, well, now what do we do?
The devil we
Because-
know is better than the unknown.
Exactly. So then it was, well, we can't change it. If you have a baby and you don't like its ears, you can't send it back and you say, well, we need to do something else about this resistance thing. So he said, okay, I guess I will have to create a protocol. So that was the very first protocol that dealt with resistance, because people are very resistant. And it's almost like putting your bubble on automatic. So you kind of make an agreement, because the bubble will only, the bubble doesn't remove something for you. You have to release to it.
I see.
So if you're resistant to releasing it, you will still have it.
Yes.
Because of our free will. We're in a free
Yes.
will universe. So,
Yes.
so then the flow, which is the first protocol, that deals with subconscious resistances that if we don't know what they are, how can we release them? So it goes deeper. It goes deeper and deeper. And as
So
I
just
said,
this first protocol, is there a little bit more that you can tell us so that we can understand a
Of
little
the-
bit of the work
yes.
in going through because if I recall correctly, you were saying there were 7 protocols.
Yes.
But let's begin with one.
So the first one, the
Yes.
first thing would be the unity bubble, and that does a lot of work. You're really able to get through an awful lot of stuff in a very short time, and then you kind of get to the point where
When you say short time,
everybody's different.
Of course.
It could be 1 week, it could be 3 weeks.
Yes, but be prepared for everything in your life.
It's
to be
kind of in
different.
your face.
but it's not really like 3 years.
Oh,
because
no,
with
no,
traditional
no, no,
therapy,
no.
psychotherapies,
No,
and
no, no.
psychiatry,
It
these are years and sometimes
We-
decades.
Yes. When we first did it, it was anywhere between 6 weeks and 6 months. But now everything has speeded up so much. I have clients doing one. They do the bubble, and 2 weeks later they're ready for the flow, for the first protocol, and they go through the whole of this bubble and 7 protocols in a very short time, 2 months.
How magnificent.
Yes, it's really fast track.
Where it used to
but-
be-
Oh, it used to be
Yeah,
6
a long
months,
time, yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
And in
So-
traditional
so
medicine, it's often
Oh,
years and decades.
years.
Oh,
Yes.
lifetimes.
Lifetimes, yeah, you're probably true.
Yeah,
Aren't these divine times?
yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is lost my train of thought there.
Oh,
The bubble-
The flow,
Yeah.
and keep
Yeah.
going with the flow and how quickly it...
Yes, so the flow. So all the protocols are like tools. They're extra tools that you can work with your bubble, because it comes down to the bubble. The bubble is it. You know, as the protocols help you with certain aspects, they go deeper, because your journey doesn't end. It's always it's ongoing. So we deal with the flow, which
Yes.
then basically puts your bubble kind of like an automatic switch.
Yes.
So when I'm feeling that I'm resistant to something, I make a statement to myself, I'm ready and I'm willing to release that to my bubble. And it makes a huge difference, huge difference. And then we get to the second protocol is called breaking the bonds, which is, the ties that bind us, family, culture, society tells you things that, you should do or you shouldn't do.
Yes.
And it's about restriction.
Yes.
So when we feel limited, this takes care of a lot of those
Yes.
and
Breaking free of the matrix.
Absolutely. So it leads then to abundance, to the abundant universe, which it is.
Yes, yes.
And we stop it coming. You know, the abundance is coming to us, and then because of these
The fear.
the fear, we kind of say, oh no, it's okay. You know. So that,
Yes.
that
Or the
deals with
frustration.
that.
Is making wrong one of those things? When people are making, society wrong, or this wrong, or that, yes?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Blaming. Yeah.
Blaming, yes.
blaming,
Shaming,
guilt,
guilt,
shame,
yes.
lack of confidence,
Yeah. Anger even.
oh, absolutely,
Sadness.
anger, all those issues, you know. But in our true nature, that's not us.
No.
So the
all
work
egoic
is
aspects.
is chipping away, you know.
Okay. Yes, yes.
At everything that is not us.
Mm-hmm.
So the breaking the bonds, and then next is I call it the sacred garden, which is it is a place. It doesn't have to be flowers and birds. It can be a place where you can retreat to, anytime, any place.
Yes.
It's your own private place of refuge.
Oasis.
It's an oasis, exactly.
In your oasis.
You could be in the middle of a busy airport, and
Yeah.
or in a shopping mall, and people are all over the place, and it's really bothering your energy, and you will just, I'm going into my garden.
Yeah. The inner sanctuary.
Yes, yes. It's also a place of settling and settling the work that you have done, and then getting ready for the next round, which is, we call it the anti-angst, which is, angst is, it's a difficult word, but it really comes down to who are you and what is your purpose.
Yes.
Is that the right one? No, I got it
Absolutely.
wrong. Have I got it wrong? Because the open heart should come first.
Oh yes, open heart.
I've got it
That's okay.
backwards.
That's all right.
So the one before the anti-angst is called the open heart.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
yes.
where we get all mushy.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, much, you know,
Oh,
my.
That's where we get
Yeah, the
mushy. It's
Kleenex.
like
Yes. Know that one too well.
So this one is very much about balancing
right.
the giving and the receiving, because so many of us, we can give,
right.
but we can't receive. You know, so control comes up, vulnerability comes up, a lot of those kind of issues.
Yes.
And it's a powerful one. They're all
Yes.
powerful in their own way.
They sure are.
And then the anti-angst, which is going more into who are you? You know, you find out who you are, and
Yes.
because you find out who you're not. So therefore,
Yeah.
you find out who you are.
And your purpose here,
in your purpose. And then the
which is the question that really is at the root
Yes.
of everyone's searching.
Absolutely.
If you're at all
Yes.
able to
Conscious.
grasp consciousness beyond your own egoic construct, the base
Yeah.
question is, who am I?
Yeah.
Where have I come from? What am I doing here? This is the question that's been plaguing mankind from time immemorial.
Yes.
And the anti-angst gives you the answer to that question.
It's basically closing the book on the old ways, on your old life. It's almost like a transition or a death. Of course,
Yes.
we know we don't die as such, but a
right.
transition
Yes.
without actually transitioning. So
Yes.
we're closing the book on all the old ways, and then we're going into a totally new way of being. And it's beautiful. Yeah, I like it.
How challenging is this anti-angst, protocol, and how
Well,
involved?
because you've done all the others up to that. You see, they build on each other.
Oh, yes.
They don't. You cannot do one. You cannot do number 4 until you've done 1 to 3.
Got
you know,
you.
they build.
Yes.
They build or go deeper. You know, as above, so below. So, whichever way you look at it.
I think everyone has a different experience with the protocols, but there's nothing to be afraid of. It's very
and
gentle.
I support people.
Yes, exactly.
you know.
And in my case, when I did receive the bubble, it was Jonathan and I were sitting in the same room, and it was transmitted to me, and literally I felt something moving up over my arms and enveloping my body, literally like somebody touching me very gently. And I awoke a few minutes later, or just came out of meditation, and I felt as though I I was hovering 12 inches off the ground.
Yes.
And just so full of love and some, like a magical wonderment.
Yes.
And then each protocol after that, it's like a shift in awareness. You know, when you have a realization, it's like that aha moment, right? So it's just that aha moment for on a different level and on a deeper, and then on another, and then on a deeper, and those ahas just get more profound as you move more into the self. And I'd also like to mention that there's one more protocol after that.
There's
There are
two more.
protocols.
Two more, yeah.
Actually.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that, but I just wanted to say that Hazel always gave a vision with every protocol
Yeah.
when Jonathan would do them. And Hazel now offers her visions as she's working with people. But I have to say that her visions were the clearest, sometimes kookiest.
Don't ask me where they come
They were
from.
fabulous.
Can you tell us about some of the kookiest ones that are so
well,
fun?
they're just like, and then I would have them repeated to me. Like people would see the same thing that. So, for example, in one of mine, I can't remember which one, but Hazel said that, you know, I had this vision. You were like that big bird, the one in, what was that movie?
The Macau.
The Torok Makto in, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh, the Avatar?
The Avatar. In Avatar,
Oh,
that's right.
my God.
So you're like that big bird that sweeps in, but you have a Mary Poppins bag. And you bring your Mary Poppins bag and you just plant yourself there, and it doesn't matter, but whatever is going on, the energy just gets cleared out.
Yes.
And you don't leave until that energy is cleared out. And I went,
Well, the visions are,
Yeah.
they're crazy sometimes.
yeah, and then I've had, not too long ago, I had somebody describe me as this big bird. You know, with the energy. So it's not just, that's the clarity with which you're dealing. You know, it's just
The
unbelievable.
visions are very specific to the individual. I just wait. I just wait to get. I don't know what's going to come. I have no idea. The other day I did a vision for somebody, a transmission, and I got jelly babies. A bunch of jelly babies. Like who knows, you know? But it was very appropriate for this
for that
person.
Yes.
Lots of different things. Many different. I mean, obviously it is my higher self speaking through me. So my high self would only be able to use what's in my
vocabulary.
vocabulary. It's not going to give me some scientific formula, which is not is not there. They're very much everyday things, but they're meaningful.
Yeah, and the last two protocols, let's not forget.
Yes, the one after the anti-angst is called into service, which is going into service from a higher level. There's a lot of people in service, but this is going to that higher level of service.
And that was created a while after.
Yes, they were not
That was
all
after. That was while I was working with Jonathan.
Yes, they were not all created at once. They were created as it became necessary. There was no preconceived idea of how many. Jonathan used to call it the Easter egg hunt. You know, and he'd say, "Oh, I've got another one." I'm going, "Oh, here we go again." You know, now what? So then we get to the into service, which is basically doing something because it's the right thing to do, without any expectation of reward or accolades or anything else. You just do it. And then the very last one we call effortless living, which is an interesting one because it sounds wonderful, and everybody's like, "Can I have effortless living?"
Yeah.
It just sounds so wonderful, and it is. It can be a little roller coaster ride because what it will do is show you everything that is not effortless.
Right.
So all the little fragments, all the little bits that have not been available to be released, they will be shown to you, and then you will be able to release them. And that's the program.
My gosh.
Completely transformative.
And then once one has done all 7 protocols, you know, with one continuing to live for months and years, other things change. How does the protocols work then?
People generally don't need much help after that. They may, you know, life throws the occasional curveball, you know, and you may want a tune-up session because of something that's happened. But generally, people become their own guru. They don't need. It's a spiritual overhaul.
That's a wonderful expression.
And I know a lot of people would say that, for example, if they post-bubble, if they had a situation where somebody passed and they were grieving or they were bereaved, that they would get over it much quicker than they would normally have done previously.
Well, I've had my own experience of that when Jonathan passed.
Oh,
you
How
know?
long ago was that?
Well, it was November 2016, so
Yes.
we're almost at 2 years now.
Yes.
Yes. And I've been able to operate. I mean, I don't say that I have not gone through grief. I certainly have, and in some ways, it's like he never left because he's always with me.
Yes.
You know, and yet in other ways, of course, I miss the the physicality and the things we did together and those kind of things. But people say to me like, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not in denial. Like I'm okay. I'm good."
Yes.
And I took on. You see, Jonathan gave me the right to do the authorization before he passed, so that it could be carried on. Because otherwise,
Because that's his legacy, really.
that is his legacy.
Exactly.
And so I've taken that on, and
Huge
I'm
responsibility.
I'm very
And thank you,
serious. Yeah.
Thank you to Hazel. A big
So that is my purpose.
Yes.
And is to be able to get the bubble out to as many as I possibly can.
To that
all
magic
over the
number.
world.
What is that magic number?
Well, I've always had this idea of having enough people bubbled and doing their work
Yes.
to affect the mass consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the number there is a formula. I believe it's something around 8,500 for the entire world. I like to say 10,000 because I would
Just to be on the safe
err on
side.
the
Yeah.
side of safety, you know.
Yeah.
So that-
20% margin makes
Yeah,
it.
you know.
Totally, yeah, totally cool. Well, that's really.
I think we're at about 3,000 right now.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like,
So we're almost there, Hazel.
Oh, yeah, we're approaching the halfway mark.
With divine times getting publicized, who knows? It might be a slam dunk.
because it could happen like
Yeah,
really
very
quickly.
quickly.
Yeah, you have what,
Listen.
20 facilitators now, or just close to-
19, yes.
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 All right.
Because some people say to me, "Oh, the Unity Bubble. Oh, I've never heard of that before." And I say, "Well, it's been around for 10 years. Where have you been?" You know. But
I have a feeling I'm maybe supposed to be the 20th, so maybe you
Yeah,
do
there
have
you
20.
go.
but you know, it's a wonderful thing, and the people that have gone through the program,
Yes.
and some of them decide that they would then like to be able to offer it to their own group of people.
Yes.
And I support them, and I have online support, evenings on Zoom, so that we can talk about.
Is that publicized through unitybubble.com or?
The apprenticeship program is on that site, yes.
And Hazel
then-
also has her own website.
Which is
HazelDavies.com.
beautiful.
That's my name. Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah.
and you do as well, don't you, Renata?
I do aside from facilitating, being a bubbleator.
A bubbleator.
I'm going to stick to that one.
That's such a good word. I like it.
I was recently actually divinely inspired. One day I was told onaheroesjourney.com. I heard that and I went to the computer and there was no such thing. And then I heard no, get it, like
Yeah.
get that. Okay, fine. And I told my partner that later that day, I bought a URL today, and he said, "Why?" I said, "I have no idea." The next day I heard.
Perfect.
The next day I heard, "Get the .ca too," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, another $5, fine, I can handle that." And then somebody walked into my place of work who who had had a very severe brain injury and had overcome every kind of fear possible. He was barely functioning, but he had to come back to the place, which was my place of work, in order to honor a friend of his, because that's what we do there. And it took everything in his being to be able to do that and to overcome the fear around being there. And it was like the light bulb went off. I went, oh, you're on a hero's journey. So anyone who's overcome any kind of trauma, this is very important right now. The message is from the universe to us to overcome, to do everything we can to overcome our trauma, to step into the light.
Trauma and drama.
Trauma, yeah, get rid of the drama.
Get rid of the drama.
Yes.
And so On a Hero's Journey is an open forum where people can share their stories with others and empower others and get empowered by those who are on a similar path and to connect with holistic practitioners. So, and that, I'm sure, is part of my bubble.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to connect on that because it's very similar. Again, it's that aspect of sharing and coming together in community. And I know that's my purpose, to facilitate that. So that's been the outcome of doing the work for me. And I'm very honored and grateful to be able to bring something like that forward. And I'm grateful to you, Hazel, and very much to Jonathan.
Oh, yes. Me as well.
Yeah.
My gosh. 3,000 people in, just over a decade. How exciting.
And that was all done mainly individually.
My gosh.
Not many groups. I have just started to do some group work because I've always really enjoyed, because I've always been a healer. Like I've always done healing
So that's
work.
your history even before Jonathan, yes?
Healer.
Oh yes, always done. Ever since I was little, I knew that I had healing hands.
Yes.
And I did that in my own right.
Yes.
While all this was going on, with Jonathan, and then I decided that it was time for me to give my full attention to the bubble now that Jonathan is not around in body, and so
Jonathan was sick for a little while. How did you deal with and cope with that, in spite of all your healing?
How did I?
Yeah.
Oh, Jonathan was Jonathan.
Yeah, he was indomitable.
He quite frankly, he'd had enough.
Yeah.
He had done what he said that he had come for into this planet, and he did a lot of work prior to the bubble in a lot of different ways. And the bubble was really an addition, actually, because so when he was not sick for a very long time. It was only about 6 months, and he refused any kind of treatment. He didn't want any treatment. He thought about it, and we discussed it, and I said, whatever you want to do is fine with me. You have to decide. And he said, I don't want treatment. He said, if it's my time to go, then and so there it was.
I'm ready to graduate.
So there it was. So
Yes.
no, I had no thought that he should have done something different at all.
Beautiful.
I mean, I love him to bits. It was.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we were very close.
He was so fun. And
he was. I like it.
Oh, he was a scream.
Truly.
He was a scream. I remember you were away visiting your daughter in Australia, I believe, and I came up north to visit where he was staying with your other friends. And he loved his motorcycle.
Oh, he loved his motorcycle.
So took me on a motorbike ride.
Which I'll never forget.
No, I'll never forget. And we stopped and had a burger. And it was like, we went to see the petroglyphs, and he explained all the stuff. He said, "You see that spaceship over there?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you're so right. And that's exactly what it is."
And he never forgot anything,
No.
He had an incredible memory.
Yes.
And if he had read it or experienced it or something, he would be able to.
It was there.
It was there. And I asked him about that one day, and he said, "Well, if I'm interested in it, of course it's there." It's like, it's not for me. I don't have to reread things.
Yeah, I don't remember what I had for breakfast.
But he was quite phenomenal.
We should also mention, just as an aside, that the bubble is also available to heal pets.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my.
And
And-
and places.
And houses,
Yeah.
yes, places.
And so
Yes.
places have an energy field also?
Absolutely.
A lot of, well, some places will have lost souls, who are hanging around. And
Yes.
they're stuck, they're
Yes.
stuck between dimensions, and
Yes.
they don't know how to get out. So I have cleared lots of houses for people. But even if there isn't that, it's just an energetic space that when you walk in, you just feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like talking
the-
about home, like you're really home.
The only caveat to that is you can't get people to leave.
That's true. They're like, oh,
They're
this is
too
so
comfortable.
wonderful.
I don't know what it is, but it's just so good here.
But yes, I will do that for people. I will also bubble children if both parents,
Oh, yes.
if both parents are together, or the guardian of the child.
Yes.
There's different categories,
You have
if-
protocols for doing all
Oh,
of those
absolutely,
things,
yes. And I never charge for children. That's,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a gift because as children grow up, if they are bubbled, they have the self-confidence. They don't have the challenges that
Or the
other-
angst or,
No, they are little people, but don't try
They're
and pull the
powerful.
wool over their
No.
eyes because
Uh-huh.
you can't fool them.
yes.
But they're one of the first children that we bubbled were around 9 years old.
My.
And now, of course, they're 19 and 20. And they're wonderful, just wonderful. They're so confident. And of course, they're going to be ruling the world,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And
they saw, you
yes.
said that they actually would see the bubble, and that's why
Oh, yes.
the logo has the colors that
Yes.
they actually saw.
They actually see the logo, the three circles.
Right.
And then some little children, they will name their bubbles, they'll see, oh, it's sparky, or it's
nice,
it's
nice.
pink and fluffy, So it's very comforting.
Yeah.
It's very comforting.
So the logo and the colors are all on your website, unitybubble.com?
Yes.
Yes.
So-
But people will see that there isn't just one way to see the bubble. It's
Oh.
not, if you don't see it that way, you don't have it. It's not like that.
Not at all.
But that was, the logo was given to Jonathan. He
Yes.
saw it. He
Oh.
saw it as we were doing the
And then
work.
translated
And then
into a
translated
manifest
it.
form.
Yes, yes. So
Marvelous.
that's what we use. And,
We had a lot of fun
Oh.
building the website.
oh, yes, yes. And pets.
What did you
They're-
love best about the website, or what you've seen, and what was most touching?
Well, Jonathan had actually asked somebody else to do it, and that person was dragging their feet for weeks and weeks and months, turned into months and months. And I had not actually had any experience building websites, but and in fact, I had tried to build my own 3 or 4 months before and couldn't do it. But then I had been bubbled. And so I was into maybe my 4th protocol at that point or whatever, and I remember Jonathan's frustration, like, and I said, well, I'll build it. And he was like, what do you mean you'll build it? I said, I could do it. And I just had this complete conviction that I could do this.
And you did.
And I did in literally 72 hours.
Yeah.
I just sat down and I went, okay, I called my bubble Sir B. Let's go. And literally it felt like somebody took over and this fell into place, that fell into place. I had the, I saw the images coming. It's full of images of the cosmos and the stars and different galaxies and that kind of thing. And literally within 72 hours, you had a functioning
Yes, it
website.
was
And
quick.
it's not changed since then.
No.
And I was like, I was the most surprised. Trust me, I was the most surprised. But it's quite comprehensive, and Jonathan's books are available through the website. There are several of them. Maybe Hazel, you could describe
Yeah,
the books.
the first book is called The Universe Project,
Yes.
meaning the universe projection. It wasn't like a project.
Ah, all right.
So the universe projection.
yes.
And it goes into a lot of detail about life streams and dimensions. And because Jonathan got he got a bit annoyed, actually, because he was like, people are talking about, 144 dimensions and this and that, and it's all so complicated. And he says, I want a simple system. So why don't we use 10? Because I've got 10 fingers and I can count to 10. So
Amen. God bless you, Jonathan.
there's Jonathan,
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how he describes the dimensions. And oftentimes when we were doing some work with the beings, he would question. He would say, "Well, how is that in our system? Is my system, is it correct? Is it good and true?" And the answer would usually be something like, "It's good enough. It's good enough for where you are, for
Yes.
what your understanding needs
Yes.
to be at this point. It's good enough. It's not that
Yes.
it's not complete, because to be complete you wouldn't even understand it. I don't even know that we're capable of understanding it, but it gives us a something to
A
kind of,
framework to
framework
appreciate
to
our
work with.
place here in this
Yes.
dimension, and our place in perhaps the stepping stones or
Yes.
gateway to eternity,
Yes.
or in our infinite life.
yes, it gives us
Or true life.
something that we can understand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then he goes into, well, this was sacred bubble time, so he goes into, in the book, a lot of the different kinds of interferences that possibly, somebody would have.
Yes.
And he goes into it in quite detail. And universal laws.
Yes.
It's a kind of book that people carry around with them, and they will just kind of...
It's only 100 pages or so,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's
And
like
you said it's
a-
called the
short-
Universe
The
Project?
Universe
Yeah.
Project. It's available
Fantastic.
from the website.
Good, so that's the first book.
The first book, and then there's a trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's called I Came to Work with Angels. And those are the transcripts of the conversations that he had with various angelic beings, plus some others.
Yes.
And they're very, very interesting. I mean, and I transcribed them,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it is verbatim.
What's your favorite highlight?
Oh, there's many. Oh, there's many, many.
Pick one.
Well, Stan and Ollie. Now, Stan and Ollie, who Jonathan called Stan and Ollie,
Oh, yes.
because they were so funny.
Yes.
They have a humor about them. Because apparently, when Jonathan's not in body here, wherever he is, they travel in threes. There's him, and there's Stan and Ollie. And they're of a particular live stream.
Yeah.
And there were times when Jonathan would get
Angry.
he'd get angry because he'd go, I don't know what to do. Why don't you guys help me? I need some help.
You guys come down here and go through all this
and
garbage.
exactly. And then one time he would say, did I volunteer for this job down here? And there was like silence. and then they said, well, we stepped back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks a
And
lot.
I said, well, why was it me? And they said, well, because you're the one that is really persistent, and you would make sure that the job was done.
Nice.
So Stan and Ollie were very, very much a part of all this bubble
Real
work.
divine helpers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. So they do have humor, but when they're working, as with Jonathan, he had a great sense of humor, and he was...
Humor is so necessary.
And yet, when
yeah.
he was working, he was...
Oh, yeah, don't
don't make...
don't mess with his
don't mess
frequency.
with that.
Yeah.
Very specific,
Nice. Well,
ethics around it, which is what
Yes.
I'm upholding.
So thank you. So that's the
for
trilogy, and
and that's it. That's just
marvelous.
just the three books, the trilogy, and then the Universe Project.
you know,
Well,
you,
the
s-
four,
you spoke of working with children as young as 9. What about elders? What's the oldest, and is it relevant for seniors and seniors?
Yes, it is. Actually, I bubbled a 93-year-old lady a while ago.
What stage was she at, and what was the transformation?
Well, what happens for people of that age?
Yes.
It will be a comfort. You're not expecting a 93-year-old lady to do her internal
Yeah.
work.
Okay. Yes.
It is a comfort. They feel peaceful.
So
They
that would be
feel
one
calm.
session or a series of?
Oh, I can do the bubble remotely. I don't need to see the person. I need to have identification. I need the full name, and I ask for the birth date and where they are. So that, because it's not me that does this. This is done from my heart.
Yes.
I'm just the vessel, you know.
Yes.
And so I have to have my intention really, really clear.
Yes.
And it'll be a unity bubble for this person, blah, blah, blah. And then I pull down the energy and then direct it to that person.
Jonathan gave my mom, who was terminally ill, a bubble, and she didn't have many good days. But I remember distinctly the next morning when she got the bubble. He said he was going to do it around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when she was sleeping.
That's how we do.
Yeah,
The
do it when they're
distance,
sleeping.
yeah, especially children.
Right. Yeah. And my mother phones me in the morning and she's like, I don't know what is, but I feel so good. I feel so great. I feel fantastic. I don't know what happened. And I just, of course, chuckled on the inside because I know exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this is something we can do for our loved ones
Absolutely.
and help and facilitate.
There are protocols, you know,
Yes.
you don't go around, I mean, I don't go
Right.
around bubbling anybody because I would like them to have a bubble, you know,
No, it has to
generally
be upon
speaking.
invitation.
Yes, they have to
permission.
ask.
Well,
Yeah.
Jonathan said you have to say, would you like a blessing? Ask them
Yes.
if they would like a
Yes,
blessing.
and it does become more like a blessing for the,
That's
you
right.
know, for
Yes,
the
yes.
agent.
Because they can't understand. It's too much to comprehend.
So for children,
Yes.
under 8 years old, it would be the parent's decision.
As a guardian, yes.
As a guardian,
Yes.
hopefully both,
Yes.
but definitely the one who they live with.
Yes.
From about 8 to 12, they should know a little bit, you know,
Yes.
just that the bubble is their best friend and that they
Yes.
can give it, you know, if somebody's not treating you nicely, a friend, you can give that to your bubble. They like that. And then from about 12 to 18, they should have more of an understanding.
And this is beyond having ego as,
Oh.
I can't say as a best friend, but as the driver, all of a sudden to actually have a sacred best friend within.
Exactly.
How very exciting. You know, for elders, you know, not everyone is online, you know, competent. Is there a phone number where people can reach either of you?
I
Please.
can, it's 519-938-1077.
519
938
938
1077.
1077
Yes.
for Hazel Davies. And for you, Renata?
For sure. It's 647
647
534
534
9982.
9982.
Yes.
I cannot thank you enough for the time and grace and wisdom you've shared, and the bubble,
Thank you.
and opening
you
up the
both.
possibility of the bubbleator for everyone.
That's right. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, please. Again,
Thank you.
such a blessing, such a blessing. And to all of you viewers tuning into that Blessings from Divine Times, this is Hilton Milan. Let your light shine. Thank you.